All right. With that, Executive Director Nevitt, do we have any more discussion regarding the procedures, or can we get into our first candidate, Mr. Brecky?
If there are no questions from the governors, then I think we can proceed. And I see that Treasurer Clark is leaving the room.
All right. Thank you, Treasurer Clark. And we'll give Mr. Brecky a moment to get some coffee and return to the table. This is the opportunity for Mr. Brecky to introduce himself, tell us a little bit about him and his practice, why he wants to be the president-elect of the Washington State Bar Association. Before we get started, I will recognize hands, but I did want to recognize that Mr. Brecky is here, and we'll turn to him shortly. I see Governor Williams-Ruth. If there are any other preliminary questions that governors have, please raise your hand now. Governor Williams-Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to make sure that Ms. Irwin is not in the room. I don't know if I can see her in my box, but I know with Treasurer Clark actually physically leaving with the Zoom. So that's all I wanted to make sure make sure that all other candidates were outside as well.
Thank you.
Ms. Clark is still here, I could move her into a breakout room if that's easier.
It looks like she's just left the Zoom room.
Okay.
I don't see her logged in anymore. She was, but as that comment was made, she's left. So we might need to notify her when it's time for her to come back in if someone has her contact information.
Okay.
That's a good question. Do we have contact information for her to his Bynum?
Do we have contact information for candidate Irwin? Okay, we do.
Right, great. Paris, great. All right, wonderful. Welcome, Alan Brecky. This is, again, like I've said 2 times now, this is a rather exciting meeting for us, and we're glad that we have you here. You traveled from across the state to be with us. We thank you for that. You have 10 minutes to give your presentation, which will be then followed by 10 minutes of questioning. Some of those questions will be read most likely by Executive Director Nevitt, and then that will be followed by questions from the Board of Governors from here in person and or virtually online. So welcome, and we'll turn the floor over to you. Thank you. Mr. Brecky, yeah, we're having some technological issues with regard to your audio. Let's make sure that we get that taken care of first.
He's muted.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Brecky, I think we're almost there.
Glad we're not in the courtroom.
Thank you, Mr. Brecky. And we are under different circumstances now. In any ordinary year, we would all be around the table and we wouldn't have to deal with these technological issues. So thank you, and bear with us on that. Again, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. If somebody will tell me when I have a minute left, I'm going to read a quote from 70-year-old Coach Pete Carroll, which Dan would love to hear. Anyway, I have talked on the phone with, I'm going to say first names because this is public, with Kyle, with the judge, Rajiv, Russell, Alec, Sunitha, Brett, and I have had Zoom meetings with Matthew. He was the first, and Brent, and Hunter came to visit me. You guys are engaged. My compliments. You appear to be getting along and interested in the association, which is exactly why I threw my hat in the ring. I have gotten over the shock that there are no more choices than you have. I don't think any harm is going to be done, but I think it's an issue that needs to be looked at. Our judge is he's fired up and he's ready to go. Out of the attic of his home, he told me all about GR 12, the 23 functions of the bar, the cases, the Janus decision, and the one that the Oregon bar is before the Ninth Circuit. So I'm familiar with the issues, but I have not read them. Of course, I will. And I exchanged emails with Laura, Brian, and sent one to Jean last night. I've had a great talk with Nancy. I avoided Olivia, Carla, and Dan, and that was a mistake. 25 years ago, when I was learning how to be the president of my Rotary Club, they follow the same model: president-elect, president, past president. It was clearly said that, at your installation banquet or at the Rotary International Convention, who's your number one speaker? The head of Kiwanis. These guys are not opponents or adversaries, they're choices. And it's important to have some discourse. And I would love to do a Zoom with Carla, Dan, and Olivia at some point and just see what we have in common and why we disagree and what we can do about that. The experience that I have that's related to the bar's mission, which I say primarily is to the public, the second is to the members. I have been to the Supreme Court over voting rights in Franklin County. The commissioners in Franklin County about 20 years ago, or the last census, divided up the city of Pasco, which is 51% Latino, and diluted their votes so that a Hispanic can't get on the commission. We won at the trial court level, and at the Supreme Court level, we lost because there was no record of the commissioners' deliberations, which was precisely our point. They just did it. They didn't talk about it. And guess what? They're doing it again. There is a problem that gets to question number 3, the promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. I've done a day-long seminar on that as a board member of Hanford Challenge. And 100% of my marketing, my advertising for the last 12 months, about $56,000 worth, has been public service on COVID, starting with, we need to come to grips with what we are facing. And just yesterday, I cut ads that go on the news that say, we are almost through with this. Don't let your guard down and get vaccinated. So that's all public service as far as I'm concerned, but it's important. It's safety. I've run the Community Economic Revitalization Board, flying in on the red eye to SeaTac, renting a car and driving to Plum Street in Olympia for 8 years. And that's a table that holds at least 30. And of course, there are competing interests. This board, the first encounter with them, their biennial budget was $45 million to stimulate job growth and economic development using public-private partnerships. So there's a lot of port districts and county officials. There's folks from the tribes that are on this board, and then private business people. My perspective, even though I'm a plaintiff's lawyer, I'm a small businessman. I have the time and I have the money to fulfill the obligations. I wouldn't have put my hat in the ring if I was ambitious. What I am interested in doing is making a contribution based on lived experiences. I've probably made every mistake that you can imagine. And I've learned from that. Our judge tells me that he addressed this problem of disengagement with the bar, not a lot of choices. There were no choices with him. I initially thought that it was an Eastern Washington systemic problem. My friend and opponent, Steve Stalker in Spokane, would have been an excellent candidate. But our judge had no choices. No harm is being done with that. He is ready to go and knows what he wants to do. I don't know if the engagement committee is functioning, but he is going to bring that alive. I'll volunteer to get on that. The first thing that they are wanting to do is do some polling and see what the perception is, starting with the public and then with the members of what does the bar do for you? Stuff like that. We got to do it so that we do get some answers. But we're in the social media era. I've made a fortune with marketing, and I do have some tricks. For instance, I don't even know if this is still going. This pamphlet Citizens' Rights series, these generic pamphlets on lots of subjects. I mean, they go like hotcakes out of my reception area. But we need to do YouTube videos and just put it out that way. I think the president's column in the Bar News should have a link to watch it. And the Pete Carroll quote that I want to read to you, he's discussing the new wide receiver that's only 5'9". And he says he's going to prove that he belongs. That's probably as valuable as anything he could have to bring to our club. And as you know, the 3 rules that Pete leads his team with is always protect the team, no whining and complaining, and be early. That's a leader. That's what I would like to do. I know how to be popular, and I will try to get the bar to get more likes. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Brecky. Our next segment here is preset questions that were submitted to all 3 candidates before today. So they've had an opportunity to review them and think about their responses. I'll ask Executive Director Nevitt to read the questions, and then Mr. Brecky shall respond. Governor Knight, did you have a question?
No, I was just raising my hand for the next segment.
Governor Knight is on the ball. All right, Executive Director Nevitt.
Good morning, Mr. Brecky, and thanks again for traveling to be here with us. So the first question is, what experiences do you have that are related to the WSBA mission?
Well, I mentioned are we okay now? Okay. I'm doing a trial tomorrow using MS Teams, so I got to learn that one too. Anyway, I mentioned the Supreme Court thing, and what I'd like to do with the pamphlet series and the public service commercials that I do that are, I've been advertising since 1984, so they've heard enough of me about what I do. I've gotten more compliments on doing that and more phone calls, frankly, than talking about what we can do to get people compensation. But anyway, the the resume shows that, I go back to when I was in my 30s, running the healthcare system in Benton County, Kennewick Public Hospital District. I've had my fingers in a lot of spots. I've completed my terms, and as far as the members go, I want to see what services there are. The most popular one to me is the lawyer assistance program. I'd like to see how that's doing. Do you want the next? Should I go to? Okay.
We'll have Executive Director Nevitt read them, so we're
Okay.
all following along.
The next question is, what qualities do you think make for a successful WSBA president?
Well, he or she has to be likable. The way we evaluate staff, I have a 25-year technical writer and two 16-year and two 12-year people. So we have a good culture in the office, and that's important for the bar. And what is the way we do it at my office is, are you productive? Are you competent? Do you have integrity? And are you likable? You got to be able to not step on toes. You got to be in favor of consensus. You need to be able to call for the vote. That curb board, there were so many competing local interests and so forth. Lots of lively discussion there, and we came to a vote. And everybody walked out of the meeting going, "We did some business." I think that's pretty much says it. Oh, one other thing. I've been chairman of two homeowners association, 55 units where I am in Richland, and then 50 in California. Nobody is happy with anything in those organizations. They are complaining about how long it takes for the hot water to get into the sink. The street lights are too light. On and on and on. Thankless job, but there's infighting, and it's something territorial. It's almost like road rage. I mean, they're not just put out; they're really mad. So anyway, I've got the plaque saying you guided us through tough times. Thank you, from the one I live in now. So I think I can. I'm a doer. I want to see results, and so number one is to be productive.
All right. And then the last preset question is, as a board member, what would you do to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion on the board itself and in the profession as a whole?
Well, the bar needs to stay integrated with the courts. There were 7, and let's go to the legislature. There were 7 police reform bills passed in this legislature. Those two bodies of government in our state will keep us progressing with diversity and inclusion. I've read White Fragility. It's descriptive. It's kind of a rap on the wrist. Look at us all here. We're all white. We hold the keys. We hold the keys. The book Cast, which I read, is much more painful to read to take, because the people of color are noticing that at 2042, there will be a crossover. And there is a secret cultural war going on about 2042. First of all, we all need to know that. And second of all, we need to make that a good thing, not something that's dangerous. It's just the natural progression of affirmative action, frankly. So anyway, I'm all for that. I have 2 Latinos on staff. The 25-year guy is autistic. I've had somebody that they actually got married. They jammed up my email system in the office, but they got married. But she has no legs. She sits on her kidneys and operates in a wheelchair. She used to say, God, I can hardly wait to get home and take off my legs. But anyway, I'm known for that. And actually, we also have somebody from the Philippines and somebody from Australia there. So we have a mix, and we get along fine, and we know what our mission is.
Thank you, Mr. Brecky. Does that conclude our questions, Executive Director Nevitt? All right, at this moment, I'll give the opportunity for governors to ask questions. We have another 4 minutes or so. Governor Knight, followed by Governor Abel.
Thank you, President Shichetti. Thank you very much for your application. I greatly appreciate you applying for this position. As you noted, last year there was a single candidate and it was unopposed. I think this year the fact that we have additional candidates reflects well on the Bar Association that there's more engagism, but really it reflects well on you and the other candidates. Thank you for stepping forward. I appreciate your opening comments. But I'd like to dive a little deeper into a couple of policy areas and get an idea of who you are and where you stand on certain issues, because the president has the ability to set the agenda, and the president, rightly so, has a lot of control over the policy of the organization. So I have 3 questions. I recognize they're somewhat complex, but I think they can be answered concisely, perhaps with a yes or no answer if you choose. First question is, should the WSBA mandate that attorneys purchase professional malpractice insurance as a condition of active membership?
They need to get there. I think there's ways to, it's like wearing masks. Nobody wanted to wear a mask. Now everybody's wearing a mask. I think we can get in that direction and end up there. I'm a Oregon Bar member, and I get a bill every December for my share of the client security fund, and I get the bill canceled by proving that I have malpractice insurance. The bar has bargaining power to get good rates, and maybe there's a way to subsidize folks, the younger ones that are out on their own with no mentors, probably have the highest exposure, but no money to buy insurance. So maybe there's a way to subsidize that so that they get there. But I think the public needs to be insured, and we need to get there. So I'm in favor of it.
Second question. In June 2020, our Supreme Court sunsetted its LLT program. In your opinion, did our Supreme Court make the right decision?
It was a business decision. It was a great idea, but it didn't work. I think $1 million was spent and 43 people participated. There's maybe there's a way to get the local bars to provide folks at the beginning of the docket that are do-it-yourselfers, and just make sure their papers are in order. So the commissioner or the judge doesn't have to do that. I mean, that's just the minimum. But anyway, it's a great idea, but it did not work. And as far as a business decision, it was correct.
Last question. Should Washington State continue?
Governor Knight, we have I'm going to open up the questions for another 5 minutes.
Okay, can I ask one very short question, Kyle?
All right, go ahead, Governor Knight.
Should Washington State continue to require that applicants to the WSBA pass a bar exam in order to become an attorney?
Yes.
Thank you for the concise answer.
All right. Thank you, Governor Knight. I was just going to say we go to Governor Abel first, and then I would come back to you, Governor Knight. I am going to open it up for another 5 minutes. We'll accord the same opportunity for other candidates, so everyone has 15 minutes of questions. That'll give other governors an opportunity as well. Governor Abel.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Mr. Brecky, good morning. As was mentioned to my other board members, I do want to emphasize that Mr. Brecky very graciously gave a fair bit of his time not too long ago to sit down with me. I happened to be going through Kennewick and had an opportunity to visit his office. It's beautiful. And he was engaged and informed on issues facing the Bar Association. So with that being said, Mr. Brecky, I want to thank you for your application. Mr. Brecky, I've got one question. I'd ask for kind of a concise response so that other people can ask their questions as well. And it deals with public trust and member trust in this institution, the bar. So, in my mind, one of the more disturbing characteristics of our present time where we are in this country is the ongoing decline in public trust in institutions, whether it's the press, the media, our political branches, and certainly the bar. And I've been talking about this for some time and trying to encourage that this board take actions that builds the public and members' trust in this institution. With that in mind, what would you do to build the public and the members' trust in this institution?
I think the polling idea that the judge came up with and the engagement committee is a place to start. I was a sociology major and I got an A in statistics. So there are ways to look at data. The millennials are all going to turn 40 and next year. It's time for them to take over. So we can encourage that. Overall, what I would do is study, learn, and come up with a plan so that in the year of presidency, there is a concentrated effort to improve the image, to improve engagement, to eliminate the feeling of disenfranchisement, increase people caring about the bar and wanting to get involved. It can be done. It can be done. This is how religions spread, is by building up the image.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Abel. I don't see any other hands raised by any other governors. All right. No, not hearing any further questions. Thank you, Mr. Brecky. We will ask you to step outside while we invite the next candidate in to present on his platform.
This is not muted. Figure out how to do it.
We'll take care of that. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Governor Stevens.
Yeah, no, I see Governor Knight's hand up, and I'm not sure if Governor Abel meant to keep his hand up or has another comment he wants to make to both of you.
Governor.
I lowered it. Thank you, Alec.
Governor Abel, are you? Do you have a question? All right, we're going to take a short opportunity to clean and invite our next candidate in. So bear with us. All right, welcome, Governor Clark, Treasurer Clark. You have been invited to the candidates table rather than your computer. Do let us know whether there's accommodations connected to that you need. Executive Director Nevitt, I will turn it over to you.
So we have a video from Governor Clark with his opening statement and also the responses to the three preset questions. And then we will move into questions from the governors. These will, Governor Clark will answer by typing and I will read his answers. So Rex, whenever you're ready.
My fellow governors, hello. My name is Dan Clark. I'm the current WSBA Treasurer and District 4 Governor, and I'm also one of the three candidates that I'm running today for WSBA President-elect. And in the following, I will detail for you why I am clearly the right candidate with the right experience for you to vote for to be our next WSBA President-elect. Now, you have a choice to make today. There are three candidates that are running to be our next WSBA President-elect. And of those three candidates, only one of them has direct and relevant Board of Governors experience and service and a proven track record of reliable service and of leadership. And only one of them has volunteered at our bar in the last 15 years. And only one of them has served as an officer on this board the last 2 years. That candidate is myself, Dan Clark. The other two candidates have never served on the Board of Governors, they have never been an officer on this board, and they simply have not volunteered at our bar in at least 15 years. And I believe that my direct and relevant recent and current experience on this board is of paramount importance, and that uniquely qualifies me to be our next WSBA president-elect, and clearly separates me from my two opponents and why you should vote for me to be our next WSBA president-elect. Now, I've had the honor and the privilege of serving on this board since July 27th of 2017. And I have said it before, and I will say it again, that serving on this board truly has been and is the highlight of my legal career, but also my life. I love serving on this board. I love being a governor, and I am so proud to be our current WSBA treasurer. I'm the only member of our bar in the history of our bar to ever serve 2 terms as treasurer. And I've tried to treat my service as treasurer as a second job. Now, I volunteer over 100 hours a month, and I have every month of service as a governor. In the last 2 years, that amount of service has went up to 140 plus hours a month. During the last 4 years, when I add up the total of hours that I have spent in volunteering as a governor and officer on this board for our bar, the number is over 5,400 hours and counting every meeting. And I think that 5,400 plus hours of direct and relevant proven service and reliable service and leadership clearly separate me from the other two that simply have zero. They've never volunteered on this board. They don't come to board meetings. And certainly I think that my experience and my institutional knowledge and my relevant understanding of all of the issues that we are currently facing clearly also separate me from my other two opponents and are other reasons why you should cast your vote for me. Of the 3 candidates that are running, clearly I am best suited to serve as our next president-elect and to hit the ground running without a learning curve to be able to do the job. Now, one thing you may not know is that every Monday, the officers of this board meet with Tara, and we've done so the last 2 years, and I've been a part of that. And that also helps to make me uniquely qualified to serve as our next president-elect, because I am very aware of what the president does, what all of our relevant and current issues are, and certainly I have used those meetings the last 2 years to try to learn and observe what Kyle and Rajiv before him did. And I have to tell you, they do a million things behind the scenes that somebody that wasn't privy to that wouldn't be aware of. I've had the unique honor and experience to do that, but that also uniquely qualifies me to serve as our next WSBA president-elect. Now, one of the most important things our WSBA president-elect does is during their term as president-elect, before they take the reins as president, they serve as basically the right-hand person for the WSBA president. Now, of the 3 candidates that are running, I think that I am also the most qualified to do that because I have forged a very strong working relationship with Brian. Brian will be our next president. And in the last 4 years, Brian and I have a proven track record of collaboratively and respectfully working together. And certainly, I think there's a mutual professional respect for for each other and a friendship. And so, of the candidates running, I am the best suited to serve as president-elect. If you cast your vote for me for this, I think it also helps to aid our board and our bar and our members for stability and a continuation of institutional knowledge and service in our leadership. I am the current treasurer, and I think it's a natural promotion for me to step up and serve as our next WSBA president-elect. So I also think in doing so, in a couple months when we elect the next treasurer, me serving as president-elect, I'll be there to help mentor and work collaboratively with whoever we choose. And that'll be, I think, the best for our board and for our bar next year to have Brian, Kyle, myself, and whoever we elect as treasurer as the officers of our board. So I have a proven track record of reliability in service. I've never missed a regular board meeting, I've never missed a special board meeting, and I've never missed a training. I also have a proven track record of, I think, successfully and collaboratively working with bar staff to set and achieve goals. And I think that we together as a board have done great things during my terms as treasurer. Some of them that I would point out have been, we have raised the unrestricted general fund balance by over $2.4 million during my terms as treasurer. That's over 40%. At the same time, we have not cut the robust programs that we do to serve our public. We've actually frozen license fees through 2026. We've reduced the overall cost of practice law by $20 this year and $10 next year and beyond. We have looked to freeze our the hardship exemptions. We've doubled. We've doubled the amount of free legal research tools. We've increased free CLEs to the tune of over 4.3 million last year alone. And we are starting to do important strategic planning. In fact, at the May meeting, there's going to be a proposal to actually move 500,000 into our capital facilities fund. And I think that this and more are reasons that I can show that I have a proven track record of leadership and successful working relationships that have been forged through hard work and dedication as a governor and an officer on this board. The other candidates simply do not have. And so I think that we have a chance to make history of our bar today. If you cast your vote for me, not only will you be voting for the most qualified candidate and the best candidate with a proven track record of leadership and service on this board, but also you would be voting for the first time in the history of our bar to elect somebody that has a major disability as our next president. I think that that is a powerful and important message that we can and we should send to our members and to the public in which we serve and to the other 49 states in our great country. That actually the state of Washington Bar Association's Board of Governors clearly does care about diversity, equity, and inclusion and the promotion of traditionally marginalized attorneys through the Inside Out philosophy. I think I am the right candidate for you to vote for, and certainly it would just be a great message for advancement of diversity, equity, and inclusion if we elected our first member with a major disability to serve as president. Now, on top of that, in the history of our bar, only once have we ever elected a full-time governmental attorney to serve as president. That was over 25 years ago, and I think that it's high time that we elect a second. And so we could do that by voting for me. And finally, we can, for the first time in the history of our bar, elect somebody from WAPA, the Washington Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, as president. We've never done that. There's 39 counties. There's approximately 1,000 of us at any one time. And I think it makes sense because I am the most qualified candidate and the best one to vote for this. So I can say in the spirit of transparency that there's nothing in my life that I would rather do more, with the exception of stopping stuttering and watching my beloved Gonzaga Bulldogs win the national championship in men's basketball. I truly want to serve as our next WSBA president after Brian. This is something I have worked very, very hard to get up to speed, to be able to hit the ground running and do. I believe for stability and continuity of our bar that it makes sense that you cast your vote for me, Dan Clark, to be our next WSBA president-elect. And I'm very humbled by the 36 and counting letters of recommendation that have came in from prior governors, from judges, from clients, and from my boss. I think all of them have a common theme that you can trust Dan Clark, that I'm reliable, and that I work respectfully and collaboratively with numerous stakeholders. And so with that, I truly do believe that I am the right candidate for you to vote for. I'm humbly requesting that you cast your vote for me, Dan Clark, to be our next WSB president-elect. And finally, I'll say it is a true honor and a privilege to serve with each and every one of you. So thank you so much.
All right. And Rex, do you want to cue up the second video?
Oh, hold on. Governor Clark, do you read the questions in before you answer them on your video? We haven't seen your video. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Mr. Nolte, go ahead.
Mr. President, before I see Governor Knight's hand up again.
I think Governor Knight is
okay.
just trying to get into the queue really quickly.
I was just getting antsy.
Sorry, sorry about that. Are we ready? And to be clear, he doesn't actually read the questions off in his video, so he just gives the answers.
Just the
Good.
answers.
Just Tara, do you want to read all three questions right now, and then we'll play the video?
Are all three responses in the same video?
Correct.
Okay, why don't we do that? Go ahead and read all three questions so that people are following along.
Okay, the questions, which you can also find in your materials at page 7, are what experiences do you have that are related to WSBA's mission? Number 2, what qualities do you think make for a successful WSBA president? And number 3, as a board member, what would you do to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion on the board itself and in the profession as a whole?
My fellow governors, question 1 is what relevant experience do I have in advancing WSBA's mission statement? And I would answer that I think my 4 years of service as a governor and 2 years of service as an officer on this board, which has culminated in over 5,400 hours and counting of relevant experience towards advancing our mission statement matters. I think that everything that each of us does as a governor and what we do collectively as a BOG advances our mission statement. I think the mission statement certainly is being advanced by our agendas and by our actions as liaisons and various support for councils, committees, work groups, task forces, and whatnot. So in addition to that, I have 19 years of experience as a senior deputy prosecuting attorney for Yakima County and a public employee. I think that goes towards serving our public. As we all know, the mission statement is to serve the public and the members of the bar to ensure integrity of the legal profession and to champion justice. And I think that a lot of what I do in my job goes towards that as well. I do believe that one of the most important things that I've done as a governor that has helped to advance our mission statement was being selected as one of the 3 delegates from this board in 2019 to the Bar Structure Work Group. I think serving on the Bar Structure Work Group was a great experience, and certainly the work that we did helped to advance and protect our entity and our mission statement. Very proud that I was the governor that actually made the successful motion to keep our unified bar structure. I think that is the best structure for us to have. And certainly when we looked at experiences in other states, there was a decrease in access to justice, a decrease in levels of diversity, and basically a cut to the robust services that their states were able to then still provide. So at the end of the day, I think that was a great experience and one that helped to show relevant experience towards advancing our statement. I think one thing to note that's very important is when I was a 1L and I went to the Supreme Court meeting with the court in March of 2018, a justice there said something to the effect of, in order for WSBA to effectively carry out its mission statement, WSBA needs to first serve its members because it is the members that actually serve the public. And I would expand upon that. And first and foremost, I'd say I'm very appreciative and grateful to have had served 2 years as the co-chair of the Member Engagement Committee, because I think that we are trying to help increase the engagement and services for them. And I would say as well, to expand upon that, I think that WSBA's most important asset truly is our members. If you think about it, it's our members whose license fees that are the lifeblood of our bar. But in addition to that, it is even more importantly, the 940 to 1,000 or so of our members that every year volunteer to do various boards and committees and work groups and task forces and council work. But for our WSBA volunteers that are our members, we would not be able to do the same robust services that we currently do. And I think that that is very important and that we need to keep that in mind. So that'd be my answer for number one. My answer for number two, what qualifications and what attributes do I think are important for a WSBA president to have? I think trust is a huge one. I think the ability to work collaboratively and respectfully with this board and with bar staff are another one that is of very paramount importance. I think that the president has to be able to be a basically a liaison for this board for what the majority wants to do, and needs to help to be there to be a facilitator of what this board wants to do. I think that it is important that we work together collaboratively and respectfully to set and achieve goals. And certainly my approach to teamwork is that of a leadership and basically a teamwork approach. I think what doesn't work on this board that I have seen is when a president comes in and they lay and set forth what their vision for the year is and what the goals of this board shall be. And I guess the expectation is that this board will just agree to those. And that works if the board does, but when the board doesn't, what ends up happening is dysfunction and chaos. And it's not good governance, and ultimately we didn't achieve nearly as much as we could have and should have for our members and for our bar under that approach. I think a much better approach is when we lay out what the goals are for the year, and we as a board mutually agree on 4 or 5 basically major goals, and we work towards them. We did that in 2019, and I think that that is the most effective way for us to actually set and accomplish goals. When we all are in agreement, or at least the majority of us is, and we have a vision of where we're heading and we're all rowing in the same boat the same way, that seems to work the best on this board. Now, the other thing I would say is, regardless of the decision of the board, the president of our bar needs to be an advocate and the mouthpiece to support what the majority of this board, what they decide. In the past, I've seen at least one president that I've served under not agree to do that, and the end result is they would say, we are doing A, when this board had clearly said, we're going to do B. And the end result is chaos and not a one voice of our bar, which we need to have. So finally, what would I do to improve diversity on this board and to improve diversity within our legal profession? Well, on this board, I think, one, we're heading in the right direction. In the recent elections for governor, at least 3 of the 4 are going to be BIPOC. And I think that that is a great thing, and it certainly will help to improve that. I also think that we're heading in the right direction in that we are looking to do more trainings. I'm glad we are this year, and certainly I look forward to more of them and us all learning more and trying to talk more about this and focusing more on it. I think us going 28 months without doing so from January of 2018 through the end of August of 2020 was a mistake, and I hope we never do that again. Now, I personally think if you vote for me and we elect me as the next president, that'll go a long way to advancing our goals of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and certainly it would send a very powerful and important message to our members, and I think that that's another thing that we can and should do. I think we need to strengthen our relationship with the MBAs. I think we need to meet more with them, and certainly, hopefully, by doing so and getting to know them and they know us, we can foster that improved relationship. I think that we are doing a lot currently that works as far as supporting the WLI. It's a great program. I wish we did more of that. And I know we've tried to, but they don't feel like that they can expand right now. But that's a great thing we do. I think one focus that I would like to see us focus on is the retention of current members that feel they're being marginalized and or have microaggressions and unfair treatment to the point of they no longer want to serve and they want to withdraw and quit the being in the legal field. As somebody that has had a lifelong stuttering disability and that has faced adversity my entire life, I have to say discrimination is real, it's hurtful, it's disappointing, it's frustrating. When there's this artificial barrier and ceiling set just because you have a disability, it's wrong. I'll share with you, it took me 2 years of being rejected, being a member of this bar after graduating with honors from Gonzaga School of Law in the top third of my class to even get a toe in the door to practice law. So we need to do more for our members to combat that. Anyway, these are my 3 answers. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Governor Treasurer Clark, for that, your videos. I feel the need to penalize Governor Knight for jumping the starting gun twice, but I don't see any other virtual or actual hands raised. So, Governor Knight.
Thank you, President Cicchetti. I'd be happy to take a penalty, but I also appreciate the opportunity to ask a few questions. Governor and Treasurer Clark, thank you for your continued service.
Governor Knight, just for purposes of timing, we did allocate another 5 minutes to questions, so there'll be 5 minutes limitation. Sorry, Governor Knight.
Thank you, President Cicchetti. This board is well aware of where you stand on a number of policy issues, and I absolutely agree with you that policy is set by the board as a whole, and not by the president. But the president does have and should have a voice in policy and setting the agenda. In fairness to the other candidates, I do want to ask you 3 brief questions on policy issues that we've addressed in the past few years. I hope that they can be addressed concisely. If you choose, they could be addressed with a yes or no answer, or further if you'd like. The first question is, should the WSBA mandate that attorneys purchase malpractice insurance as a condition of active membership?
I believe no, that it should be up to each member to make that decision, and 48 other states do not require it. Only Oregon and Idaho do, so we should not.
Second question, with President Cicchetti's indulgence. In June 2020, our Supreme Court sunsetted its LLT program. In your opinion, did our Supreme Court make the right decision?
Yes. I believe that under GR 25E that the program as a limited license is required to be revenue cost neutral within a reasonable time, and to date has not been able to show an ability to do so.
Last question. Should Washington State continue to require that applicants to the WSBA pass a bar exam in order to become an attorney?
I believe that some sort of standardized testing method is required. With that said, I certainly understand there are major concerns by many as to the fairness and potential adverse impact on people of color and other applicants.
Thank you. We have 1 minute, 5 seconds left. Governor Abel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hello, Dan. As Russell alluded, you're a little bit unique in that you're a known quantity among the candidates. I do have a question for all three of the candidates. I have my guess as to how you might respond to this, but I do want to pose it to you. In this time when one of the defining characteristics of American life is a declining trust in public institutions, what would you do and what would you focus on if you were elected to build the public's and the members' trust in this institution?
Increased transparency, that and increased communication of what we are doing and why.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Governor Stevens.
Yes, and then this is really just a process point. So I think you should take the next question, because if your clock was just running, there were gaps that were understandable between the question to the answer. So I would hope we'd at least allow one more question as opposed to saying the time has just run out.
Yes.
Or I'll blame Governor Knight.
Sounds
And
fair to me.
I just consulted with General Counsel Shanklin, and we agreed that probably giving an additional 4 or 5 more minutes would be appropriate.
All right, wonderful. We will do 4 more minutes. Governor Williams-Ruth.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Treasurer Clark. I just want to find out if you think that Earl Warren was a good Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court.
I must confess not to be a major historian, but I do believe that as a Chief Justice that yes, in my opinion, yes.
All right, Governor Abel, do you still have another question, or is that left over hand? All right, we did extend 4 minutes, so we do have a few more minutes. If anyone else has a question for Governor Clark, I will wait for just a moment. Not seeing any. All right, thank you all so much. Thank you, Governor Clark. We will ask Ms. Irwin to call in. That might take a couple minutes, so bear with us as Governor Clark also recuses himself from the room. Governor Williams-Ruth.
I'm noting the time is just coming up on 12 o'clock, and unfortunately, I have a prior existing appointment, so I'm going to have to step away. Will that invalidate my ability to vote for the president-elect? And if so, then I would request that we take the standard lunch break from 12 to 1 as we normally do.
That is a good question. If you're not present, yes, probably couldn't vote when the vote came up, but we could possibly recess now and have Ms. Irwin join us. So,
I
Governor,
don't know that I agree that it would make it not capable to vote, but I don't know if I know General Counsel Shanklin does not like to be put on the spot. I noted Russell Knight had his hand up.
well, are you
Yeah,
talking about not
that's-
being able to vote if you're not present?
Oh, yeah, I would presume we would do the election after lunch, but
Okay.
finish the interviews now.
Okay.
But do I have to be present through the entire interview process?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No,
Then
just you have
apologize.
to be present for the vote. You can't be, there's no proxies.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And so then the preference would be to continue on now with Ms. Irwin and then recess for lunch and have the vote later.
We could check in with Ms. Irwin. I suspect for her convenience, it would be good to proceed, but it's certainly, if she's okay with it, it also might be a good idea to just finish up after lunch. And I know past President Majumdar has his hand up.
President Majumdar.
I mean, Ms. Irwin might want all the governors to be present that would be present. So we might want to give her the choice, I suspect would be the polite thing to do.
General Counsel Shankland.
Yeah, so although there probably isn't a clear answer in the bylaws to the question, one of the provisions in the election procedures that says proxy voting is not allowed says, however, a governor who participated in the interview and discussion process by electronic means may cast a vote telephonically via a confidential phone call with the executive director and the other persons designated by the president to count the ballots. So at least in that section, it does seem to be anticipating that, you know, if you're missing the vote, that's fine, but it seems to anticipate that you heard all the interviews and discussion.
All of the interviews and discussion or a portion of the interviews and discussion?
So it says, who participated in the interview and discussion process by electronic means. So, you know, there's no word about all or part, but it talks about participating in the process. So I guess the board could determine, you know, you could imply missing words there.
Well, Mr. President.
Governor Stevens.
Yes, we also in this process have received the electronic ballot, which it would be announced when we could actually take that vote. So
I have not reviewed the electronic ballot. Are you saying that there's a time constraint on the electronic ballot, Mr.
no, I'm saying quite to the contrary, which is
not
that everybody who has received the ballot would be able to submit the ballot.
Okay,
electronically.
I'm inclined to suspend for lunch at this point, thus giving Governor Williams-Ruth also the opportunity to come back and hear from Ms. Irwin. Has Ms. Irwin been able to join us yet?
I don't see her, so I could give her a call and let her know that we're going to resume at 1 p.m.
Okay, why don't we do that? Do we need to confirm with her first, or are we set to adjourn then? All right, we'll go ahead and adjourn for lunch. We'll be back at 1 o'clock, and we'll resume our interview with Ms. Irwin, followed then by the vote for the president-elect. Thank you, everyone.